Welcome to Conversations once again. It seems every week I'm saying how wonderful it is to have one person or another on, and I guess that's because I try to have wonderful people on. My wonderful person today is Mr. Tom King. Tom King is a minister, once had a church. He still fulfills that function at various churches. He acts sometimes as chaplain at the hospital and sings at cheap weddings and funerals. And
I don't sing.
Welcome, Tom. It's great
Thanks.
to have you on the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Specifically, I wanted to get out what you do with the hospice program, and I hope you'll come back sometime and we can talk about all kinds of things, because you're someone that I really enjoy talking with. But let's just cut to the hospice program. And I'd like to ask you, first of all, does it exist on its own? Well, how do I want to put that?
Hospice, I'll go ahead and help you out.
You go ahead and help me.
A hospice program here in Missoula is a program of Partners in Home Care. And Partners in Home Care is a agency that is supported by both St. Patrick Hospital and a community hospital. So it's kind of a small program within several larger contexts. And the hospice program here, like all hospice programs around the country, is focused on people at the end of life. Doctor gives a prognosis of 6 months or less to live and refers them to the hospice program, and we're an interdisciplinary team of health professionals, including a chaplain.
Boy, no, that's a lot. You're sponsored by both the hospitals, and they give you backup support, and people come to the doctors there, and then you become a referral from the doctors or from the hospitals?
As a physician makes a referral to hospice, then we go out to usually meet the family, and at home, most hospice patients, the reason they want to be on hospice is to have the health care that they might get in a hospital in their own home. So nurses come to visit them at home, social worker, chaplain if they want. We have a very strong volunteer program, so volunteers come to give companionship or respite help for family members who need some time to get out and do errands or just get some rest. We have a bereavement program. After a person dies, then we follow up with grief support for the family. It's a very comprehensive program.
I want to go over this again, so to make sure that people understand. Yeah. I'm dying of AIDS. I'm in the hospital. It doesn't look as if I've got a lot of time to go. My doctor, Dr. Roberts, says, would you rather die at home? Or he gives me that option. He says, we could put you, we could keep you here, we could put you at home. I don't have relatives in town. I say, I'd rather go home. And then hospice kicks in at that point.
As Dr. Roberts would make a referral to hospice, then as you're discharged from the hospital, we would meet you at home, find out what kind of support you have for caregiving. If you don't have family, you may have friends who would be there to give you support. And as long as that prognosis is made of less than 6 months and you're not seeking any treatment for cure any longer, but seeking treatment for comfort, that's where hospice has the expertise to support you and the people closest to you in providing that kind of palliative care, comfort care.
Who pays for this?
Well, sometimes insurance, a person's own private insurance company will pay for hospice care. More and more that's happening. Or Medicaid or Medicare. If somehow a person doesn't fit any of those, we take them anyway. There's no, we don't turn anyone away because of lack of finances. So we do fundraising every year. This year, December, we'll have the Tree of Life, the large evergreen tree in Rose Park that's lit up every December as people make donations to hospice. We have the hospice ball in February. We have fundraiser in the spring. Used to be tree planting. I don't know what we're going to be doing this coming spring, and then people out of their own response to the care they receive from hospice, families often designate hospice as a place to give in lieu of flowers, as they usually say in an obituary. So it's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit, but it draws money from government institutions and hospitals.
We're licensed through we're a licensed hospice agency for Medicare and Medicaid, so we have to follow certain guidelines there around all these.
Now, I know this program isn't everywhere. Or is it?
Well, it's most places. It's been,
really?
Yeah. 20 years ago or so, it came to this country from Great Britain. We're a model of home care, hospice care at the end of life was created, and then it just was a grassroots movement in this country, and gradually, as most grassroots movements became more institutionalized. People saw the value of it, and the government saw the value of it since it's so much cheaper to care for people at home than in a hospital. Medicare and Medicaid stepped in and said, this is what we'd like to support, and so we have that kind of background history as an organization. Even here in Missoula, it started as a volunteer organization.
At one time, you had a hospice house.
We did. We had about 5 years of the hospice house. It was a beautiful place out in the country, and long history of attempts to support the costs of having an inpatient hospice. Very expensive to do that. We hope that in a couple of years we'll have one again. But the expenses just got too great. We did not have the kind of undergirding of a foundation or an endowment fund set up from the beginning, which we should have had. So made some mistakes, had some conflict, and I think in many ways it was amazing. We stayed at it as long as we did for 5 years. It was at considerable loss financially, but that's where the support of both hospitals came in. And finally they said we can't continue to absorb this loss, and we're going to have to close it down for now and hope that in the future we can put it together again. The community was so supportive of that hospice house and gave a lot to get it started, and we can't let that dream die. There are folks who don't have caregivers. There are families who get worn out with the caregiving of a loved one who's dying, who need the support of an alternative place to be that is as close to home as possible. The atmosphere, the care, as close to home as possible. Most people, the vast majority of people, if you ask them if they could write the end of their life, where they would like to be as they die, they say at home. They don't say a nursing home. They don't say the hospital. Unfortunately, that's where most people die today. It wasn't true a couple generations ago, but that's where we began to put elderly people, sick people in institutions. And the expectation then was that's where you die. Go to the hospital, you die. Folks more and more are reclaiming that deeply human need to be with loved ones, to take care of them themselves, and to be at home where they're surrounded by everything that they know and love. And so we hope to be a part of responding to that movement.
I just was thinking that I did a show with a midwife 2 weeks ago,
Exactly.
I believe, who was saying something very same about the beginning of life of 19th century. Well,
Yeah.
we got all wound up with what the 19th century doctors and their pride and what some of that has caused, and defining homosexuality as instead of it being a behavior, it became a personality disorder, and how childbearing was something that should be taken to the hospital, and now you're saying that
Dying as
dying
well.
was something that got taken to the hospital as well.
Well, there were all these miracle cures, and medicine was a great the sense of being saved by medicine. And what hospice does is bring all that medical expertise into the home, brings it back into the home, combining it with all the deeply human expertise of how to give loving care to our own family members. And in generations past, it was passed down from generation to generation. You bring mom and dad into the home, that's where they die. The children and the grandchildren see how this is done. Death is not this mysterious, scary medical thing that happens. It's a very human thing that happens. It's a part of life. And so we're trying to bring those two worlds together. And I think that's what people appreciate so much, is that they get that expertise of medical care in terms of pain management, symptom management in their own home, where the daily activities are of a home, the sounds of a home, the smells of a home, children, cooking, all of that, the dog or the cat, everything there. Instead of the more institutional environment of a hospital or nursing home where everything is taken away and you wear a gown that says property of St. Patrick Hospital or community hospital instead of your own clothes. So it humanizes it, gives it back to us and as human beings that and it allows us to go deeply into a place that does know how to care for people at the end of life in this great mystery and this and lets us enter into that very intimate place with one another.
I want to go back and be a little, not hard, but I'd like to know how many people you have in this program that work with you?
How many staff members?
Yeah, and do people volunteer? What are some of the mechanics of it?
We have a couple of social workers. We have a volunteer coordinator, myself as chaplain. We have a medical director. We have 3 regular nurses, 2 on-call nurses. It's a 24-hour service. There's a nurse always available, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And the volunteers, I suppose there are 40 to 50 people who are on the rolls as volunteers, probably 20 who are active right now, assigned to a patient or doing bereavement support or helping with the clerical things in the office.
Can you handle this all?
Well,
I mean, can we put out there that if you are, under these circumstances, we guarantee that you get hospice care? Can you say that?
Oh yeah, yeah. We can expand as great as the need is. I think there are many more people out there who could benefit from hospice care, who don't know about it, who don't know it's available. Who only have in their minds this image of death as this medical event. We fight it to the end, no matter how old we are, and we die in the hospital after everything has been done medically to try to save us, as if death could be beaten. At some point, we need to learn this transition, which is very difficult and very unique and personal to everyone who faces it, moving from this life to the next. When does that transition take place from fighting for and going to the ends of the earth for a cure to this is futile. All these attempts for cure at this point in my life are futile. I want to make sure I have the best comfort care. I want my symptoms managed so I can live out the rest of my days, and not have it consumed by my disease, all focused on my disease, but give me back my life as a full person, not just as a patient fighting this disease, but as a full person in the midst of my family, in the midst of my community, in the midst of all the things I've loved or struggled with. Let me do the deep personal work that needs to be done here as my life is ending, whatever that may be. I need to say my goodbyes, my thank yous, my I'm sorries, my get out of here, I don't want to see you again.
I want to verify at the end of the life that I still hate you, you son of a bitch.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What people need to do, what's most important to them, what nurtures them. Instead of focusing on problems, what are the strengths in my life? What nurtures my spirit? Who have I been? What am I grateful for? What am I proud of? Bring out the picture albums. Call the family members in. Don't wait till the last minute. Who knows when that last minute's going to be? Come in sooner and have celebrations of life, remembrances. Take the last trip that you need to take. Go across the state line and gamble one more time, as sometimes people do here, or go into the mountains one more time. May not be the last time. There may be another time. Always keeping the real human hope alive for life. To do things that are nurturing, that are valuable.
Tom, doctors give an oath that it is their job to cure, to heal. And some of them feel that up to the last minute, that is their job. And in your experience, how do people, I don't know, you know where I'm going? I don't have to get...
Well, I think it's important to find the physician that is in line with what you most want. This is your life. That doctor's there to serve your needs, to care for you, how you want to be cared for. Do you have the right to say, I don't want any more treatment? There may be more experimental things out there, but I've had enough. And I would like you to find all the things that can control my symptoms, my pain, and let me focus on my life now. And if you have a doctor that can hear that and work with you, wonderful. We don't give our lives over to the medical professionals any more than we give our lives over to the legal professionals or religious professionals. It's important for us to claim what is real for us, what is most important for us in all of those areas. So I would say that's the most important. Have that conversation with your physician. This is what I'd like. These are my, I filled out my wishes for the end of my life. This is the kind of treatment I want. This is when I say enough of curative treatment when it gets to this point. And give me the flexibility that when I get there I might want to change my mind. Work with me. Let this be a dialogue.
What if... Well, let's save that question maybe later, because I still want to get the kind of some of the nuts and bolts of this.
Well,
you're really advocating a new way of dying, or reclaiming a way of dying that was once more traditional.
Right.
The young people saw grandmother die in the home. There was a ritual of cleansing her body.
Exactly.
And, I don't know if they ever really put pennies on the eyelids, but this whole young people in the home had a view of this. And you want to reclaim that for as many people as is possible.
Right.
Which, in a sense, is rather revolutionary.
Yeah.
Often going back to something can be as revolutionary as
changing it. It's like home birth, as you had that conversation with the midwife. It's kind of reclaiming this. We do know how to do this. We don't have to give our lives over to the experts. They have something to learn from us in this home-like setting, from a very human point of view. What is most important here? Test after test after test after test may not be the most healing thing to do. Physicians are called to be healers, not technicians. And that's part of what needs to be reclaimed. Physicians take an oath to do no harm. Is it in the 98-year-old's best interest to be resuscitated when their body is wasting away, where they weigh as much as their years, is it healing to put a feeding tube into that person and keep them alive when there is no cure possible, when their life is and body is fading away, where everything is shutting down? I think we need to question those things. Just because we have the technology doesn't mean we have to use it in every situation. We need to use it appropriately.
I want to ask you about this question. You talk of palliative care, and most people would say they want to die at home, and they want to die with as little pain as possible. Now, we have incredible painkillers, and yet you hear stories of people dying in pain. Doctors don't want people to get addicted, and even though they're only going to live a short time, will hold back drugs because of their own views on drugs. I've heard this exists. Have you? That
happens.
So there again, make sure you've got a doctor who doesn't mind giving you pain pills and...
Right, and make sure that you have your wishes spelled out as much as possible on paper. Make sure you have an advocate, family member or not, who has the authority to, if you're unable to speak for yourself, can speak for you, knows what you want.
Who can do that?
Well, it's called durable power of attorney for health care. It's a form you fill out. It doesn't have anything to do with finances. It has to do with your health care. And you assign a representative to speak for you when you're unable to speak anymore, for whatever reason. You're in a coma, you can't speak, physicians are saying it's time to do this procedure or that procedure, and you say, no, it says here, what Greg said in his last wishes, he doesn't want that kind of treatment if it comes to this point. And he signed it, and I'm here to advocate for him.
Well, let's bring it totally specific then to me. My parents live in Billings. I see them once or so a year. Although I love them, I don't feel they're close to my true identity, if that makes any sense. Now there's Dan over there on the camera, there's Ed back there. These are good friends of mine. I have other good friends. I've had my doctor for a long time. So if I wanted to make sure that this was legal or something, what would I do?
Well, you appoint someone that you trust,
well,
that knows you.
Well, I decide on one of these guys?
Yeah,
that
you've had conversation with. You can put one person down and an alternate.
Okay. It has to be one person, though?
One person to begin with. If that person isn't available, you have the alternate.
All right.
You discuss this with your physician. You discuss this with any other important people in your life, so that they know it's on file at the hospital, it's on file with these important people. And
so that the one person works with the doctor as well, right? And also, if you talk to other friends about this, there's a kind of climate around your death of consensus.
Right.
I know my mother had to decide when to pull the plug on her sister, and it was a very difficult decision because there was nothing like this, and so she felt the whole responsibility on herself.
Right.
So
unfortunately, sometimes people are plugged in, and no decision is made about putting the plug in for life support when it's clearly a temporary measure. And so then this awful decision about pulling the plug. And both decisions need to have equal weight. Can we give as much weight to putting in a feeding tube as taking one out? So.
Well, my doctor, when I talked to him about these issues, said it's a lot easier to get them in and get them out.
Exactly.
Once you're into them, then it becomes
Exactly.
part of their care.
And so technology takes the lead instead of our wishes. We let the tool demand what happens.
Is this an expensive or, complicated, or what kind of lawyer would I go to, or can I just write it down, or are there standardized forms? Or?
There are standardized forms that are available through the hospital, through many doctors, through the Missoula Demonstration Project, which does research and advocacy about end-of-life care here in Missoula. The form is called My Choices, and it's a living will and durable power of attorney for health care. And you fill that out, you have it notarized, you have witnesses. It's legal, you can change it anytime you want with the same process. And you keep it on file.
I think I should do that. All of a sudden my mind has gone blank and I don't have a good question for you. I know I'll go back to that other experience that I was holding from you. We had a person who tried everything to cure his AIDS.
Yeah.
And just as the protease inhibitors were coming along and there was proof that these might really be the answer, he decided that he had struggled enough and he made the choice to let himself go. It was a hard decision for those of us in the HIV community, and for the family and for himself, I'm sure. So theoretically, maybe if his doctor had said, you take these drugs, he could have lived. Now, you're saying that this decision should all be in the patient's hands, and here I'm giving you a case where perhaps, the doctor could have. And you're going to tell me that it's not always easy.
Exactly. You can see that coming.
Yes, it's not always easy.
Well, it is a difficult decision for anyone. What is most valuable to me at the end of life? I have these conversations with my wife. I say, boy, if I get some of this stuff, I might not take any treatment. She says, you better. So people always have this, the struggle of what they most want. Well, that's not just, you're not an isolated person. Your decision affects everyone else. Many people say, boy, I hope when I go just like that. Heart attack on the golf course or at my favorite fishing stream, and I'm gone. Well, that may be the way you want it, but how about people who are close to you, your parents, your spouse, your best friends? That the shock of that loss may be very, very painful, very hard to live with.
Oh, I see it.
And so
Linger a while to make your relatives feel better. I'm sorry. I had a friend who died out on the river fishing just like that, and actually his wife took it well.
Yeah.
She knew that was the way he would like to go.
And others do. It's amazing how long people can survive when you see the wasting of their body, and they keep on living. And is that just for themselves? Are they working through something that they need to work through internally, deepest part of themselves? Are they staying alive for their loved ones in order for someone to come and be there? So often you see that someone comes and something's resolved and the person can let go and die. How do we honor our own individual choices? How do we honor the love of people around us?
How do we take back that choice if nothing else? I think a lot of us, or at least in my generation, never thought that was really an option. I don't know.
Never thought what was an option?
Well, that dying at home or making a lot of the choices that you and I are talking about. You got sick, you went to the hospital, you died.
Sure. And the
you
medical...
didn't put up a fuss. I'm sorry.
the medical care we have now, if symptoms can be controlled, there can be a real quality of life. People can be clear-headed, though they're on a lot of painkillers or other medicines for symptom control. They can be clear-headed. They can be with their family. They can do things that they most want to do right up to the time they die. And that is kind of a wonder. And there is some kind of gift, since we all have to die, there is some kind of gift for many people who learn that they have a life-limiting illness, that they have so many months at anyone's best guess to live. This time can be sacred time. They can do what they, or be how they most want to be at this time in ways they haven't been before. Say things knowing that this is the last time they'll get to say them, or ask for things from others. Being cared for by loved ones. I was just with a son caring for his mother, doing all the home care support for her as she's facing the end of her life. And it's an incredible gift that he can give back to her what she gave to him in his growing up years. And can be invited into such a terribly personal place and can care for her that way. It's a great gift. It's hard. It's deeply emotional work, but the rewards are, I mean, this man said, I don't care about my business right now. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. This is priceless to me. It has nothing to do with when a coworker said, you could hire someone to do this. And he looked at him and said, this is where I want to be.
Underneath what you're saying is that we should reclaim death as a vital part of our lives and as an experience to be fully experienced. I hate to use the same word in one sentence, but...
well, it can take us to the deepest places of relationship with another person in our lives. And in fact, that's the privilege that all of us who work in hospice have, is that we're invited into this very personal, intimate place as people face the hardest time of their life, the biggest mystery, where things are not in their control, and they open their hearts in perhaps in ways they haven't before, and their hearts are broken open by this experience, and the family too. They say things that haven't been said, that need to be said, or experience a grace that they haven't experienced before. They've been so caught up in all the busyness of life and their career or their whatever, and now they just have to be. They can't do it all anymore. And it does give you the opportunity to take this spiritual journey. And some folks are very familiar with it, whether from religious tradition or not. And for some folks, it's brand new. I haven't been in touch with just being alone, with just being, with being dependent, and with facing such a unknown. So it is a spiritual, obviously a spiritual journey. Whatever you have done or haven't done about that in your life before, it brings you face to face with yourself. What your life has been, what meaning it's had, what you value most, where you put your trust, and what hope you have. What has this life been about? What have I done with it? How do I make amends? How do I prepare myself for something I've never done before? And it's this journey into the unknown, which is really what all our life is about from the beginning. But it's so much more obvious here at the end.
Should we talk more about death to each other?
Now?
You and I
Probably
don't have a
were.
choice unless we pull the plug on this, but I mean, as a society,
We'll talk about it more as it is experienced more in our lives.
good point.
I think it's real hard to talk about in the abstract. People don't want to go there. They don't want to talk about death. They're enjoying life. That's not going to happen for a long time or whatever. But as it's experienced more and more, as people take the risk of entering into it, whether that person is dying or the person they love is dying in the hospital or at home, as they take the risk of being present with them, of listening to them, of really giving their undivided attention to them, and letting the person who's facing that that end of life talk about what it's like for them. What is this world like now? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do they reflect on it? As they enter into that place, and it is not as scary as they might have imagined. And I mean, I hear this over and over from people, that it's hard, but they're so glad that they were there for their mother, for their father, brother, sister, friend, and stayed with them. What people most want, as you said, they want to be at home, they don't want to die in pain, they also want someone there. And not necessarily just at the moment of death, but they want someone there in the sense of someone who has listened to them, someone who's been fully present to them. And it might be someone outside of the family circle, because the family's so unable to be present. But they want someone present. They want someone who can come alongside, can accompany them, can go as far as possible, believes them when they say they're in pain, believes them when they talk about people they see who no one else can see, have some near-death awareness and talk about seeing, when they're 98 themselves, seeing their mother or their father. And they have someone there who can say, what was that like? Instead of saying, oh no, you didn't, Grandpa's dead. What are you talking about Grandpa for? You're hallucinating. The drugs are doing that to you. Instead, trusting that and being close and opening up their heart to be fully present. I think that's what people want. That's what's most valuable, if they can. I mean, it's a two-way street. You got to have someone who sees the opportunity and is also willing to risk, to trust, to open their heart and their lives to what is most frightening or most difficult.
That sounds nice. Suppose the relative isn't there, or then the hospice person takes that position?
Well, I think we have some experience of being there with people at the end of life. We can help normalize it for the family who is experiencing it for the first time. We can maybe model some ways of behaving, of saying, touch is important. They do know you're here even though they're in a coma. They do hear what you're saying. The hearing is the last to go. Say what you need to say. Take some individual time. Each of you speak from your heart.
Going back to my midwife, it's very much like that. She's had experience with other births, and she's helping new parents, for instance, and telling them what might be most desirable and giving them options. Right. And you're saying the hospice does somewhat like that?
Exactly, right.
How much experience have you had with dying people?
Well, I've worked in hospice 7 years now. So I've spent a lot of time with dying people. All my work is with people who are dying and their families.
Because most of us, of course, don't.
Yeah, I'm kind of balancing that out for everyone else. And often people say, this must be very depressing, and my constant response is, it's not depressing work. It's entering into what's most real in people's lives. And what would be depressing is doing work that does not feel real or has no meaning in an ultimate sense. So it's wonderful work, and wonderful in the sense of giving support to people who are doing it for the first time, who say, it's so good to have someone, whether they say it with their words or not, they can feel that you have some experience, and they can trust that your calmness here, they can lean on a bit and be close to the one they want to be close to, but don't know how to, don't know where to start. And most of what I do and others in the hospice team do is say, you do know how to do it. You are doing it. You're doing a great job here. This is very, very hard work, but you're with the one you love, and they know it, and that means everything.
I heard you speak once when, maybe I'll just get you there. When people come to, when you go to people and they have decided that the end is coming, and they say, well, I've never done anything like this before, and you've always said, I wished I could say. You don't remember your own sermons? You wished you could say, so what's new? That's what you said. That all of life is
every part of life is new, and we've never done each part, whether it's grade school or
falling in love.
Yeah,
those are all
new experiences
and need to be prepared for.
Yeah.
As you work with the dying, has it changed? Well, it has to have changed. How has it changed your views on religion, the afterlife, God? You were a minister before, but
still am.
And still are.
There's a saying that I heard from a retreat that I was on a couple summers ago. The unknown is most intimate. And the saying means that it's like being in the dark. You have to feel your way through. You go slowly when you're in the dark. And I think that as many years as I've done this, it's still, every situation is new, and you have to feel your way through. I don't know when I go in to be with a family, even if I've heard some history about the disease or about the person or about the family, what that situation is going to be like or what it's going to feel like to them, and how can I come alongside? How can I be of support to them? For one person, it might mean reading scripture, someone else reading poems, someone else saying nothing, someone else praying, someone else listening to their life story over and over and over again. So it's sort of like, I don't know what country what the landscape is like that they're living in. Does it feel like desert? Does it feel like jungle? Or I don't know what music they're listening to, but I have to follow their lead in this dance. That's how I give them best support, by moving with their strengths, with what nurtures them, with what gives them hope and meaning in this journey. So it's a constant learning. It's a constant learning process.
I don't think you answered my question.
Oh, I didn't?
I wanted to ask about the change in do you feel
what changes that?
Do you feel stronger about an afterlife dealing with people who are at the end of this life?
I feel stronger about the presence of God in this life than I ever have. Eternal life, as it's described in Christian literature, is not just about the afterlife. It's about all of life. This life, the next life, whatever the next life is going to look like, feel like. We have a lot of poetic descriptions of that, but having new bodies and people talk about, Grandpa's now, I'm sure, up there hunting in his favorite spot or hanging out with his favorite buddies, we just have these images from this life about what the next life. But eternal life is where God's life is, God's presence is in this life. And that's all I can concentrate on. And I think that my experience from when I began to now has just validated over and over and over how much there is a sense of grace for all of us, that we are all beloved, that we all have a deep value as human beings, intrinsically made in the image of God. That's one way to describe it. So this sense of God's presence, that the unknown that people are in at this time can open up in just amazing directions that no one could have predicted. There can be reconciliation with someone they've been alienated all their lives that happens. And it's deep and it's true and it's real, just with someone coming, just with a word. Or a deep sense of peace in a person's life who's been troubled, lived a painful, troubled life, and you see this peace, and they can speak of it, whether it's because they've had some vision, or because, or sometimes they can't speak of it. You can just see it, and all the family says, "Never seen her look so good." Here someone is on their deathbed. They say, "I've never seen her look so good. She's so at peace. Oh, this is so good to see. I could never have believed this would happen." So that's the name I put on it. I say, this is God's grace. This is God's presence. And I see that in these situations that tell me that underline what I've believed in my Christian life from the beginning is God is with us in our deepest need. That's where God is in the world, with people in their deepest need.
But not just at the end of their lives.
Not just at the end of their lives.
No. I mean, that's...
No. But sometimes that's...
I've been close to dying many times, and I've never had the sense of need there. I mean, once it gets close, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I feel a lot more needy just trying to get through my days sometimes.
Well, and people sometimes feel a lot more alive near the end of their lives because something opens up, something is more real than ever. Other stuff is, the superficial stuff is kind of cleared away, all the material stuff is cleared away, surely. All the desires or whatever may be cleared away, all the, and you got clear focus now, gets your attention. So there may be an openness that had never been there before to being loved or being at peace or knowing forgiveness. So that's healing. A person may die, but they may die healed. And that's the work that we have to do for one another, whether we're in the medical field or not, is the work of healing. And it may not mean that we've cured someone, but they've experienced healing. And maybe only because they've had the opportunity at the end of life to open their heart to what they'd never opened it to before.
Oftentimes when I drink or go to the hospital, I resent that all of a sudden this person who had been someone's friend now becomes an object of pity, of concern, of something else. You become that.
Yeah.
And it occurs to me that people, when they're dying, our tendency probably is to objectify them as well. And, and you're saying that we focus on them as full human beings right to the end and deal with it.
We objectify them if we treat them as a patient only, with a certain set of symptoms and disease, and we're all focused on that. But if we treat them as a whole person, if we get down to eye level, if we stay a while, if we listen, if we don't do all the speaking, if we pause a moment and let them collect their thoughts and feelings and say them what they most want, amazing things can happen. There can be a whole new picture of what end of life can be like instead of this crisis model of care.
Tom, what do you need? What can we ask people to do besides having revealed that, something new, I hope, to a lot of people? All of this was certainly new to me. Volunteers are needed, I assume?
Always, yeah.
What
we will
do
have,
volunteers do?
We'll have another volunteer training in February. It's a very intense training period. I think 24 hours of training, not continuous, of course, but very much need volunteers. We have a strong volunteer group now. We always need more. They go to sit with people by the bedside. Sometimes, as I said, the family needs some rest and to get away. Sometimes volunteers do errands. Sometimes they work in the office. But most volunteers want to be out there with families and with people at the end of life.
Okay. You want to give us a phone number?
Phone number for hospice is Partners in Home Care, 728-8848. And you can call there and ask for the volunteer coordinator for hospice. We'll also have our Tree of Life fundraiser and memorial service in December, first week in December. And people who want to contribute to hospice can do that by calling the same number, getting invitation to that, to put a light on the tree.
Tom, I'd love to have you come back and talk about a lot of these issues, but I thought it was really important to get this out that
Great.
hospice exists. It sort of popped into my life, and being HIV positive, I hear about people going and da-da-da, but
Yeah.
I really had no clue as to what was going on there until I met you. So thank you
Thank you.
for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.